The night the FBI stormed the glass towers of Cole Capital, Times Square was already lit with headlines. Wall Street Wonder Kid exposed. Billion-dollar fraud shakes America. Camera crews swarmed the entrance as agents hauled boxes of files and hard drives into black SUVs. Investors screamed into microphones. Reporters shoved for angles, and the name on everyone's lips was Ethan Cole. But the story didn't begin with flashing lights or federal raids. It began decades earlier, in a modest suburb outside Pittsburgh, with a boy who learned early that appearances could buy him time, and lies could buy him freedom. Ethan Cole was the kind of man America loves to believe in. Sharp jawline, silver tongue, a mind wired for numbers, and a smile that promised safety. Born in 1974 to a steelworker father and a mother who worked double shifts at a diner, Ethan grew up hearing two refrains: "Money makes the rules," and "Don't let anyone see you bleed." By 16, Ethan was winning math competitions. By 18, he was charming teachers, girlfriends, and local bankers with the same trick. Confidence so unshakable, it looked like truth. He went to Wharton on a scholarship, but what he sold there wasn't grades. It was himself, a prodigy who whispered about shortcuts, who made people feel like they glimpsed the future standing right in front of them. And Wall Street eats profits alive, unless they learn to bite back. By the late 90s, Ethan had wrangled a job at a mid-tier investment bank. Colleagues called him the Shark, not because he was cruel, but because he could smell money and fear. When the dot-com bubble swelled, he positioned himself as a visionary, promising he could pick winners no algorithm could touch. The truth? He was already moving numbers around like puzzle pieces, creating illusions of growth with borrowed cash and exaggerated returns. But it worked. His clients, small doctors' offices, retired steel workers, even churches pooling pension funds, saw statements climbing. Nobody asked how. In 2002, he broke off and founded Cole Capital Management. Within 5 years, he wasn't just a player, he was a star. A glossy Forbes cover with a headline, "Ethan Cole, the People's Investor." A penthouse overlooking Central Park. Charity galas where he pledged millions to children's hospitals. Photographs with senators, handshakes with mayors. Ethan had built an empire, not on profit, but on faith. And the people who believed in him, they weren't just clients, they were prey. For every public smile, there was a private ledger. Offshore accounts in the Caymans, shell companies routed through Panama, fake auditing firms signing off books that never balanced. Cole wasn't investing money. He was recycling it, paying old clients with new deposits. A Ponzi scheme dressed in Armani suits. And then there was the other secret, the life his wife, Marissa, never saw. The Manhattan brownstone rented under a false LLC where models and escorts sipped champagne, the private jet trips to Monaco, the campaign donations that weren't philanthropy at all, but leverage. Every fraud has a rhythm, and for a decade, Ethan played it like a symphony. David Ross and Helen Ross, retirees from Ohio, have saved for 40 years, living modestly, clipping coupons, always dreaming of retiring near their grandchildren. They handed Ethan $600,000, their entire nest egg, after a church friend swore Cole was sent from God. They didn't just lose money, they lost their home. David went back to driving trucks at 68. Helen started cleaning houses. When Helen was interviewed later, her voice cracked. It wasn't just money, He stole our peace. He stole the years we worked for. Multiply that story by thousands. Teachers, veterans, charities, universities, even a children's cancer foundation that had trusted Cole with a $50 million endowment. Every smiling photo of Ethan handing a giant check to charity was in reality money stolen from someone else's dream. So what broke him? Not greed. Greed was his oxygen, not guilt. Ethan Cole didn't feel guilt. What broke him was arrogance. In 2016, a junior analyst at Cole Capital, a 27-year-old named Sarah Klein, noticed an account statement that made no sense. Returns were listed on funds that didn't even exist. She flagged it to her boss. He told her to drop it. She didn't. Sarah went to the SEC. At first, the regulators brushed her off. Cole's reputation was airtight. His books, carefully forged, passed every shallow inspection. But Sarah's persistence forced a deeper look. The auditors started digging, a subpoena followed, and like tugging one loose thread from a suit, the seams began to unravel. By 2017, whispers spread. Clients noticed delays in withdrawals. Journalists circled, sensing blood. Cole dismissed it all as fake news, going on CNBC to sneer at haters who don't understand genius. But behind closed doors, he was moving money faster than ever, shuffling billions offshore, wiring funds to Dubai, buying silence where he could. His closest lieutenants knew the walls were closing in. Some fled, others stayed loyal, believing Ethan when he swore he had one last play to make it right. March 14th, 2018. 6:42 a.m. The doors of Cole Capital's Manhattan headquarters exploded inward. Agents stormed floors, seizing laptops, ledgers, hard drives. Ethan wasn't there. He was in his Hamptons estate, half asleep beside a mistress when the phone rang. By 7:15, his name was on every screen in America. By noon, he was in custody, sunglasses hiding his eyes, wrists in steel. The man once hailed as a genius was now perp-walked past cameras, the word fraud plastered across his face. The trial of Ethan Cole was a spectacle. For 6 months, prosecutors paraded victims, experts, and ex-employees across the stand. Sarah Klein testified, her voice steady, as she described the fake funds and missing millions. Ethan's defense? That he was misunderstood, that markets were volatile, that he never meant harm. He even blamed his own clients, saying they were greedy and should have known better. But the evidence was undeniable. $8.4 billion stolen, 19,000 victims, the largest fraud since Bernie Madoff. When the verdict came, the courtroom was silent. Guilty on all counts. Ethan Cole was sentenced to 145 years in federal prison. Marissa Cole filed for divorce the next day. Their children, once paraded in glossy magazines, changed their names and vanished from public life. His mistresses fled. His friends in politics denied ever knowing him. The victims? Many never recovered. David Ross died of a heart attack 2 years later, still working long-haul shifts. Helen never forgave herself for trusting. The Children's Cancer Foundation shuddered. And Ethan, he sits today in a federal penitentiary in North Carolina, alone, unrepentant, writing letters to journalists about how he'll be remembered as a genius ahead of his time. In the end, Ethan Cole wasn't just a fraud. He was a mirror, a reflection of a culture that worships wealth, that confuses confidence for truth, that lets charisma blind us until it's too late. So the haunting question isn't, how did he fool us? It's, why did we want to believe him? Because the truth about Ethan Cole isn't just about Wall Street, it's about us. Stories like this remind us that truth hides in plain sight until someone dares to look closer. If this story gripped you, there are more untold lies, betrayals, and crimes waiting to be uncovered. Subscribe now and join us as we pull back the curtain on the shadows of wealth and power. Your next shocking revelation is only a click away.